Hi, I'm Kat Kalashian for Live and Invest Overseas, and today I'm talking about Porto, Portugal, which is Portugal's second largest city. It's at the mouth of the Douro River, so it's up in the north a little bit, and it's got so much to offer. It's got this charm that's kind of effortlessly a blend of the old world and this kind of more hip, modern feeling. It's very well known for its azulejo tiled facades, so the city is beautiful as you walk through it. Of course, the winding streets are a great place to get lost and explore these facades for yourself. The world famous port wine is a wonderful reason to come as well. And the whole town has this kind of charisma that might sneak up on you. So Lisbon, of course, gets a lot more attention, but Porto has been steadily gaining popularity, climbing in the ranks as a top destination, both for travelers and also for expats. It's got this long history, of course, the whole country does, but also a dynamic art scene and this authenticity that comes with a modern appeal as well. The city's nickname is Invicta, so that's invincible in Portuguese, and this is the last word in the sentence that is on the city's coat of arms, which means essentially ancient, most noble, always loyal, and invincible. And so it's been the motto of the town since the 19th century when Porto resisted a siege during the Civil War that lasted for more than a year. So the unconquered city, they call it, of the north. And there are plenty of touristy things that gets lots of well-deserved attention. So for example, the Dom Luis Bridge, taking the cable cars in Gaia, visiting all the wine cellars, of course, is very popular. And everybody should take a visit to the Serralves Museum and its gardens, wander through the Ribera district, and check out the interiors, the dreamy interiors of the very famous now bookshop Livraria Lelo, which was said to be one of the big inspiration points for J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. So really cool place to kind of get lost in between the shelves of books. But Porto is much more than that. These are kind of the top reasons people visit, but there's so much more to see here. And it's a shame to just kind of stay on that surface level. So if you want to stick to only those postcard spots, you might miss out a little bit on what makes the city really tick. Before you fall into those classic tourist missteps, let's talk about some of the common mistakes that people make when visiting Porto and how to avoid them, of course. So number one, top mistake, not visiting the churches. So you don't have to be religious to visit churches. They're a wonderful example around the world of artistic craftsmanship. They're a glimpse into the lives and the aesthetic vibes and the architecture, the preferences, the beliefs of people that have come centuries before. And usually a fun bonus is something cool like catacombs or an ossuary in Portugal. Those are some of the kind of unexpected bonuses that you get sometimes. So a few personal recommendations: the Torre dos Clérigos, which is the big landmark Baroque tower that kind of dominates the landscape. 240 steps to get to the top, but it's worth it for those really incredible panoramic views of the city once you get up there. And from the inside of here, you can also access the top floors of the church, which also offer privileged views and offer little exhibitions into religious artworks up in those levels. The Sé de Porto, which is the cathedral of Porto, was originally Gothic from the 12th century, but of course it is a story of evolution over the past centuries. So on the inside, you'll see it kind of changes entirely. It turns into this little fantasy-scape, gold leaf, Baroque, everything, almost psychedelic, kind of supercharged Baroque dream. The Capela das Almas, the chapel, the best part of this one is the outside. It's subject to opinion rather, but the outside is really what draws people here. So it's entirely covered in the azulejo tiles. It's got over 15,940 of them. Blue and white tiles that cover the entire facade. They represent the lives, they kind of tell the story of the lives of St. Catherine and St. Francis of Assisi. And what's kind of interesting about these tiles is that they're not from the 18th century like most are. They're actually from the first half of the 20th century. So a little bit of an anomaly there. And then finally, the Igreja do Carmo is just kind of, again, this big surprise on the inside. You go inside, it looks pretty normal from the outside, but you go inside and it's just, you immediately are confronted with this maze of rooms and catacombs, a secret passage that you can easily miss if you're not told about it or looking for it. Then I won't give any more spoilers, but it is definitely a must for your Porto bucket list. There is a hidden house inside. All right, no more spoilers. And there are two more major tips I want to share about Porto to experience the true, authentic side: what to eat, where to eat it, what to buy, where to buy it. But before I get to those, if you want to experience more of Portugal behind the scenes, the way I'm talking talking about in this video today about Porto, to see and do and experience all the things that the average tourist most likely doesn't, and to have the most authentic experience possible here in Portugal, you should take a look at my new book. I actually have a copy of it behind me. Living in Portugal, Your Guide to the Good Life in the Old World. It's, I hope, as fun of a read as it was fun to write. It's just lots of little snippets, little bite-sized chunks of fun things about Portugal, ways to experience Portugal in a much more intimate way, kind of getting behind the postcard of things. So it's a collection basically of almost 200 insights, anecdotes, secret places, the kind of things that locals or expats who've been there a long time share amongst themselves, but that don't generally get out to the mainstream public. So, this is the accumulation of about 15 years of spending time and making friends in Portugal. So it should be a fun little sneaky peek behind the curtain of Portugal. And I am giving away 500 copies of this as a celebration of its launch. While supplies last, of course, you can click on that claim to try and claim a free copy. If not, it's also available for purchase. So go ahead and click that link if you're interested in learning more about Portugal in an actual book form. All right, number 2, without further ado, avoiding the local dishes is the next big mistake that people make when arriving in a new place that might seem a little bit out of a comfort zone. So some of the Porto foods, I will admit, seem a little intimidating. And there's, everywhere in the world now has so many good international options that, cater to tourists and have lots of international crowd pleasers. Spaghetti bolognese and pizza and burgers is easy to find. And, if that's where you're comfortable, great. But if you do want to try some local specialties in local spots, I have a list here to recommend. So the restaurant Buffete Fase, this is Porto's iconic chock full of meat sandwich home. So it's called the Francesinha, which means the little French girl. I talk about it in my book. It's a very cute story of how they named it, but it's essentially a multi-layer sandwich topped with cheese, smothered in sauce, and comes with fries, sometimes underneath, sometimes on top, sometimes all around, sometimes on the side. But it can be found all over Portugal. It is absolutely not for the faint of heart or faint of belly, but it's not in the most touristy part of the city that the locals go for the best Francesinha in Porto. It is to this local spot, Buffete Fase. The service is pretty quick. The staff is very friendly. It's not far from the subway, which is always nice. And of course, the Francesinha ranks as number 1 in the city by locals. Number 2, the Leitaria da Quinto do Passo. So this is for a sweet snack if you're looking for something to wash down after, or to cleanse the palate after all of that meat. Head to any of these cafes. It is a chain. They serve pastries and beverages, but what they're famous for, what has kept them famous for over 100 years, is the chocolate-covered eclairs. So that's really the number 1 reason to go to one of these spots. They're filled with all-natural whipped cream, no additives, no preservatives, and they also sell their own traditional butter here, branded by them. So interesting. Next up is Bolao, which used to be one of the most important and charismatic markets in the city. It had to evolve with the changing times, so it's no longer a strictly traditional market. Now there are also stalls selling little platters of local specialties. So the cheese, maybe a carpaccio, oysters, ceviche even, and they'll sell wine by the glass. And then alongside of those, you'll have the old school gray hair up in a bun ladies who are selling their fresh fruits and vegetables and flowers and fish and all the other good things that you expect in a market. So whether you prefer the traditional or the modern market, this is a place to spend some time. Casa Guedes. If the Francesinha is too much for you, here's an alternative. If you still want to try to sink your teeth into a local sandwich, but you'd prefer to maybe err on the lighter side, go to Casa Guedes, a small restaurant that is known for its pork leg sandwiches. Their oldest location is at Praça dos Poveiros, and that's kind of going to be the most authentic, the traditional experience. Check out those 1970s groovy tiles as well when you're there. Finally, we have the Taverna Dona Cremilde, and this is kind of one of a dying species. It's a local traditional tavern, which aren't as popular as they used to be and are in somewhat shorter supply than they used to be. Service isn't that quick. Hours are flexible. They're not known for necessarily their ambiance or decor, but for the quality of the food and the experience of just eating in these local little spots. So what makes them famous here is the meat croquetas. As well as the croquetas, they have the cod fritters, which are all over Portugal, the bolinhos de bacalhau, but they make them from scratch here, which is, again, again, a rare thing and a dying breed. They're also well known for their well-seasoned fish roe salad and very tender gizzards, which is a specific recommendation of a local Portuguese friend who likes to frequent this place. She recommends that you ask for bread to soak up the sauce. Wash it all down with some house wine. A word on controversial bacalhau fritters. So the lots of chain shops you'll see, especially in Lisbon, also in Porto and throughout the country, sell pastéis de bacalhau, the cod fritters, in the north, bolinhos de bacalhau, but they fill them with Portugal's very famous Serra da Estrela cheese. The inventor meant well, two very Portuguese things, let's put them together. So the cod fritters, they're crispy on the outside, light and fluffy. Why not put some oozy, gooey, yummy cheese in there? Sounds like a good idea. However, the cheese, and this is the opinion of Portuguese that I have talked to, the cheese has a very strong, complex flavor, and the cod fritter is a very light, delicate kind of flavor. So putting them together, she described it as two divas on the stage at the same time. Of course, the personalities will clash. Tourists do flock to these shops, and the cod fritters are yummy, but you've been warned. It is unnatural, according to the Portuguese. And then finally, we have Café Majestic, which is the most historical cafe, very famous. You'll see it in every guide about Porto. It's not the cheapest because it is so famous, but it's got gorgeous decor, ornate chandeliers, a piano, great ambiance. And it's not so much a place to stuff your face as a place it is to just enjoy the atmosphere of being pampered in kind of old world setting. Their signature dish is their French toast, rabanada in Portuguese. It's super soft. It's covered in egg cream with a sprinkle of walnuts and pine nuts. And it's definitely worth the splurge, both in calories and in euros. And finally, the big mistake people make is just coming and buying a postcard and a fridge magnet. Branch out and get some local artisan crafts as souvenirs. So for example, you might head to Fernandes Matos and Compañía, which is in the Rua das Carmelitas, right next to its very famous neighbor, Livraria Lelo. It used to be a fabric store in the late 19th century, and now it sells mostly Portuguese products, from tiles to high-end toiletries, clothes, shoes, hats, canned fish, jams, wine, of course. The shop itself is gorgeous, a reason enough alone to go in and window shop at least, with its wooden staircase, much like its neighbor, the bookstore. And many details from Portuguese office life in the early 1900s make this a really interesting little visit. Klaus Porto is another good place to shop. It's one of the oldest Portuguese high-end brands of soaps and fragrances. It's been in business since 1887, so a nice historic place to come. They still sell many of their original iconic products, and new ones have, of course, followed. Home fragrances, for example. They're in the aptly named Rua das Flores, Flower Street. And if you have time, go up to the second floor. Don't miss it. There's some interesting bits about their history and the old machinery that they used to use. There's just beautiful Belle Epoque designs all over. Worth the time if you can spare it. Mercado Ferreira Borges was built in 1885. It's a former market, but now it's most famous pretty much for its structure. It's made of glass and crimson painted iron, so it sticks out. Today, it is a venue for concerts and music shows. You'll also find artists selling handicrafts and repurposed items, clothes, jewelries, accessories. It's a great place to find little outside the box things. The Urban Market, which is hosted in the Palacio das Artes in the heart of Porto. It only opens 2 or 3 times a month, just for 2 or 3 days at a time. So it's worth keeping an eye on their Instagram page to keep up with when they will be in sales, but you can go there for Portuguese designer pieces and independent brands and other things. Arcadia is the most beloved Portuguese chocolate maker in business since 1933, and it's become associated with very high-end quality chocolate with almonds, confections, almond and chocolate. This is a common Easter treat in Portugal as well. And they also make chocolates with port, which has to be the most delicious way to treat anybody looking for a gift of chocolate in your life. And they have many locations in Porto, so you won't miss them. Projeto Vimoc is my final recommendation for shopping. If you like design and handmade illustrations, stop by. It's in the Rua dos Caldeireiros, and the focus here is on urban architecture. You'll find prints, ceramics, tiles, and other things like decorations made out of skateboards or a lamp made out of a shoe, who knows. Great opportunity to meet and have a chat with the local people, the local creative people coming up with these projects. So yes, of course, go to Porto for all of the things in the tourist books, but don't stop there. Dig a little deeper. Try the food that's outside of your comfort zone. Pop into that little quiet church. Chat with that shopkeeper who doesn't sell keychains, and leave some space for surprises in your itinerary. Let Porto come to you, as it were. Some people have said that Porto can feel a little bit more distant compared to other places places that feel a little bit more intimate. But if you scratch beneath that surface, you're likely to find that intimacy with it. So for more insights like this about Porto and other places all over Portugal, the culture, and how to avoid the typical tourist sites and traps, check out my new book, Living in Portugal, Your Guide to the Good Life in the Old World. Happy trails.